once. Why? Because initially we are not checking for any condition here. So it will execute at least, then we will have a condition, and then after that we will use an increment statement. So how it will be, I'll just show you. Suppose my variable is I, so I have to initialize it to some value. Suppose I is 0 here, and then I will use what? I will just check the condition. Suppose my I value is less than, okay, less than some 5 value, and then I will arithmetic operator like increment. So we will increment the value of I. It could be anything, any variable, I, J, or anything, whatever you take. So first we will initialize it, then we will have a condition, then we will increment it, and once this is done, we will have a set of statements. Okay, so these are the syntaxes which we are talking just for now, and we will check out an example over this. Okay, so these are the things. I mean, this is the syntax: while condition and statements. And as I mentioned, in which we will be having something called as expressions, and based on that expression, we will be executing those statements which are suitable to that cases. So we will be having n number of cases, and based on that, whichever satisfies, that statement will be executed. So we can have a break. I will tell you the difference between a break and continue also in today's session. So what break will do is like, suppose I'll better explain this with an example. So apart from that, we are having these statements, what we call as break statement and continue statements. And we can also have an empty statement. Empty statements usually in parentheses. We'll get the day. So suppose today's date it will take from my system, and it should give me the days. Like if today is what day, based on that. Suppose it is Saturday or okay, so it will give me. So let us try this example first. Okay. I'll take the same example instead by or we can write it down better. Okay, so we have HTML basically, and then we have a head, and your type is equal to within type. Okay, expressions, we are going to execute those cases. So we will have different cases. So just we will try to understand what it is. I want to take a switch here, and I'm taking a new date function which will take the today's date, and I want day here. That is what day is today. Okay, this is my expression, and based on my expression, the case will execute. So what would be my case 1? Okay, and it should give me like some alert. Okay, so it should give me Monday if it is belonging to case 1. And then I have a break here. So if it doesn't satisfy this condition, it should come out of this loop. So I am using a break here. So as such, I'll be having 7 cases. Okay, I'll just change it now. So we have Tuesday. Okay, and we have Wednesday case 4, case 5. Okay, I think somewhere we messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and one more, 7. Monday. Okay. So that's our program, what we are doing. And I already mentioned, we also have something called as default. So default is nothing but it will have set of statements which will be executed when none of these cases are satisfied. So it will be executed if you give some other number which is not here. I mean, it doesn't satisfy. So we generally write a default statement also. So my default would be something like I can give anything. Okay, not in list or something. Okay, and this is how it will work. So okay, and we don't have a bit, and generally you see here, this is what we are trying to do. We have given a switch, and in which we have used a function, and then we are giving a individual cases. Okay, so I'll just close my script, and then my body. I think I have written it in body. I'll just save it now. Switch example. I think there is some error. So HTML. So what we did, it is like we have forgotten, we don't have something called as it will give you some errors where you are, so we don't have something compiler here which is going to show us the errors. So we have to be very sure when writing a JavaScript code. So, but because the browser will not show you where the error is exactly. So I think we are fine now and try to do it. Okay, let me recheck this program. So HTML, okay, body, text, okay, we will continue with other programs indeed, not to waste the time. Okay, this should work because we don't have any errors. Anyways, let's move to the next topic. Basically, it will work. Try to copy here and directly execute it. 1 second. Alert break. Okay. Your date of today's and it is displaying you Saturday. Why? Because it is satisfying the condition as case. Why? Because today is, you know that today is Saturday. So basically it will go to today's get new date, it will create and it will go to the get day function of today's. So this is how your switch case will work. Based on the expression it will take and it will execute that case 7. So initially we have forgotten here to close in parentheses. So now next one is something like if. Okay, so we are having a script and as you know we can write language equal to JavaScript. And then what I am trying here is like I am taking var n is equal to 0. So initial value of variable n is here 0. And what we are doing, we are just taking if n value is 0, then it should give me some alert. Okay, so what alert? That n is, okay, n is 0 or something. Okay, and then what happens is else. So make sure that your if and else both are having statements in separate parentheses. This will otherwise it will lead to confusion. Having alert n is not 0. You can directly say like that. Okay. So this is how you write a program, and then you'll close it, and basically you have to check all the parentheses are properly closed. So and then you have to close the script and then close the head Make sure whether you are writing it in head session or in body session. Why? Because script tags, as I mentioned earlier, you can write it either in your head session or in your body session. So that doesn't make any difference here. So I'll close my HTML tag. Okay. So we can it like for else, or sorry, if else example. Okay, and we will save it with HTML. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to do here. You can see it. So you can see here why, because we have taken n value as 0. So it is just prompting me as n is 0. So this is my alert box, which will have only OK button. So it is just showing n is 0. Apart from this, you can also use other display options like document.write, and you can also have something called as as I mentioned earlier, apart from document.write, we can also have innerhtml, which we will use by replacing. So wherein we will just use a ID as a reference. Okay. So that things also we have something called as JavaScript is not Java. As I mentioned earlier, there is a lot of difference between both in design and also in terms of functionality. So why it is different? Now we will discuss few things. So if you see JavaScript, so there are some features which are resembling same like Java, and there are also some features which are not similar to Java. So we will see here what are similar and what are not similar. So see here, JavaScript has some features that resembles feature in Java. JavaScript has objects and primitive data types. So everything in JavaScript mostly will be objects. So we will describe like document object is there in JavaScript. We will discuss further. So why everything we call it as an object in JavaScript, and apart from that, JavaScript is also having qualified names. So you have seen like document.write. So these are qualified names. So user is not defining it, right? And JavaScript is also having some events and event handlers. So in last class, I have shown you an example wherein we have used like Innerhtml, right? When I'm talking about Innerhtml, you might have remembered I have used a method like a document.getElement by ID, right? So what we are doing, we have changed the context of the HTML element, right? When paragraph has been changed. So if we go to that example, previous example itself, I have did this button sample. Okay, so this is what we did in the last class. You see here, I tried to, this is my paragraph. Okay, this is the HTML content. When I click on this button, the content has been changed. So what here we are trying to do is, initially we are doing some event like on click event. So whenever I am clicking this button, the content is changed. So that is nothing but an event in JavaScript. So there are such many events and event handlers which we are going to discuss further. So also we have a concept called as exception handling. So exceptions are nothing but errors. You can say errors also, and there are some we can expect that these errors will definitely occur, like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception. In Java, we also have those exceptions. So in JavaScript, so those exceptions are also same. Okay, so almost they are the same as in Java. Okay. Okay, so JavaScript has some features which are unlike anything in Java. So you can know variable names are untyped. That is, we don't have data type. I already told you, and we will be using var. That is the keyword to define a variable in JavaScript. Right, and what we'll do is the type of variable depends on the value it is currently holding, right? So you know in JavaScript, if I'm writing some variable like var x something, if I'm keeping it as a string like Navya, okay. So Just give me. Okay, this is a string. Why? Because I am enclosed in a double quotes, right? So, but here variable I am not specifying. This is a string variable or this is an integer variable. I am not nowhere specifying the data type here. So, whatever the data it is holding, it will accordingly mess up with that data. So, the type of the variable depends on what value it is currently holding. And if you take objects and arrays, they are completely unique they are different way. They are defined in a different way. So JavaScript has with elements and a kind of for statement we will be having, which we will discuss further. So this is how JavaScript is alike and also like with Java. And yeah, we were talking about exception handling. So as I mentioned, both in Java and JavaScript, exception handlings are same. So exception handling in JavaScript is almost the same as in Java. And you know the throw expression creates and throws an exception. Okay. So what exceptions will be? So usually you'll write a try block and you will have a catch block to hold that exception. And we don't have any type declarations there. And we have some statements. Suppose in my code I have to compulsorily execute that statement. So then I will use a finally block. So that is always that code should be executed. Even though there is exception or there is no exception, that block has to be executed. So such statements we will put in final statements. So we will discuss this in depth when we work on programs further. Okay. Let us try to understand. Initially, I told you. Let's try to understand better these statements because I want to tell you about loops. While loop. So we will see an example first. So I have an example with me. Okay. So this is for while loop. What I am trying to do here is just I have a heading here. So I have created a paragraph, and in last class, as I have told, inner.html will change the content of, but we will use just a space, and I am taking a variable. Initial value is 0. So first I value is 0. And I am taking a condition while loop here. So what it should do is while I is less than 10. So instead of taking 10 iterations, I'll just take I less than 5. It should give me something like this. Text plus is equal to. I hope you should remember when I say plus equal to, you should remember the operators concept. That is, in last class, I already told what this will do. If we have something like x, okay, suppose I have something like x plus equal to 5 or 6. What it will be? It will be equivalent to x is equal to x plus 6, right? So the same will go here. Now, in my program, I am writing as text plus equal to, I should have a break, then it should display me as the number is some space, and then it should display me the value of I. And I am incrementing the I value. I will tell you how it works, but try to think first. So I'll just show you how this. What I am trying to display here, text plus equal to break, and then it should be like this. So what it will do, it is same as text value will become what now? Initial text value, whatever it is, then it will add a break, whatever I value we are getting. So text is nothing but to the initial value of text, we are adding these conditions, like we are adding a break, we are saying that the number is, and then we are displaying the I value. So what exactly I am trying to do here now? I have given a condition like while I is less than 5. So my initial value of I, it will now the text would be what? Text initial value of text is some space. It will give some space. Then we have a break, and it will display me as that is. So first initial value of I got now 0. And then what we are doing, we are incrementing the value of I. So now I plus 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 will be same as, you know that I is equal to I plus 1. So my while loop, and again it will check 1 is less than 5, which is again true, and again it will come here, it will change the text now. So text this time would be the number is 1. Okay, it will display me like that. Again we will be incrementing the value of I. So incrementing means that will be 1 plus 1. But because now I value here it was 1, so again it will display as 1 plus 1. So that would be 2. Okay. So okay. So this is how our while loop will work. So initially my I value is 0, and then it came to 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is how your JavaScript while loop is going to work. So apart from this, I told you there is also one more loop which is called as do while loop. So you can see here, in while condition is true, till the condition is true, my statements have been executed. So once it has reached 5 less than 5, which was false, it came out of the loop. Okay. So what is the case now with do while? So I'll take the same example now. We will make some changes here. Okay. What I will do is, I will just change it to instead of taking while loop, I am taking a do. So in do while, initially what we will do, we have a syntax something like this. So first do, then we will have the set of statements that we want to execute, and then we will have a while condition, right? So this is what my program should look like. So I'll just change here. This is JavaScript do. Okay, I'm saving it now. Okay, so now when I'm executing the same program, okay, you can see here the same result is there. But what is the difference between while loop and do while loop? Suppose now my condition is false. What I will do is, instead of saying while I is less than 5, so initially I value is 0. So suppose 0 is less than 5 will become true condition. So what if I give here I is greater than 5? Okay. Suppose here, now what I am doing here is, my do statement will have should give me a statement, and then it will check for the condition later. So now I have given a false condition, so it won't iterate here. Now we will see what would be the output. So this is gone. So you will see only it has already that. So already I have mentioned, when you are using do while loop, okay, Where is the program? Okay. Let me reopen. Okay. So whenever we are using a do while loop, you will see that at least this statement, whatever the statement you are mentioning inside the do, it will execute at least once. So this statement will be executed once. So this is what we have seen. But when it came to the condition to check the while loop, here it became the false. Why? Because 0 is not greater than 5. So that statement became false. That's why it came out of loop. It didn't iterate further. That is the main difference between a while loop and a do while loop. And now, okay. So we were talking about statements we have seen, and we have seen how if else will work, and we have talked about exception handling. Okay, so I think this one we were talking about. So exception handling, as I mentioned, we will have a set of statements which we will have to try, and then followed by a catch statements, and that is, see here, if test1. So exception handling for the case that test1 is true. So we can have multiple catches. So based on what exception it is throwing, that catch will be take that means that catch function will take that exception. So suppose in my program they take exception, or it can be a null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception. So there are many such exceptions which can be occur in a program. So for that exceptions to catch initially, we will have multiple catches in a statement. So based on which condition is true, that catch block will be executed. So this is what he is trying to tell here. So we will have a try statements, and we will have multiple catch statements. So based on whatever test will pass, like suppose this test1 failed and test2 is true, so it will execute this catch statement. So as such, if both test1 and test2 is failed, it will handle this, that exception will be handled by this catch statement. As I mentioned, finally is nothing but always the code which you mention in your finally block, that will be executed compulsory. Okay. Next is object literals. So okay, you know that in variables we don't declare any types in JavaScript. So JavaScript has nothing but object literals. So usually with this syntax we will declare the object literals. So basically we will be having a name and a value, right? So a name will be there, like whatever it is, like student name, then it will have followed by some values. So as such we can have multiple names and by the values. So this is nothing but literals, what we call it. And suppose we can take an example here. He has given, like if I'm taking a car, so here my car is an attribute. Okay, so you will see this field is having this value. So my car is a name, and this Saturn becomes a some value, and you can see I told you that it will be a string. So same here, 7 is one field, and this is a string Mazda. So if you are taking a get car, here car type, and whenever I am writing something in this parenthesis, it becomes a function call, like it is a value. So this car type will become a function, but because in parenthesis it is having some value, and it is an attribute. So like that we will be having fields and names as such. So you can see here fields are my car, get car, 7. So these are all some legal field names, and we have special. This is just an example for your understanding. So you can use, like if you know that car is having this field, like my car is an attribute. If you know it, then you can directly use your object. Like for example, in my output, I am using a document.write. So I can directly write like this. I am using I own a what car? Car.mycar. So directly it will give you the details of my car, that is value of the my car. If you know this properties, my car, that my object is having these properties, So I can definitely use and retrieve those elements using a dot. Next is how we will create an object in JavaScript. So you can use an object literal. So this is very important. So if you are seeing here var codes, so I am taking a variable codes and I am directly creating the attribute, the properties. So there is a name, I have given a property number and I am giving a value, some number, and then I am giving a teacher and then I am giving some value to it. So like that I will be creating a object literal. So directly I am giving here fields with values. So instead of this I can also create in the second way. So you can use blank object. So without any values, I'll just create an object and then later I will add some fields to it. Okay. So if you see here the same example, var codes, I'll just create an object like new object. So this is same like Java. If we want to create any object, we will use the keyword called as new. New keyword is usually in Java also will create an object. So the same goes with JavaScript. So I'll just write here var codes is equal to new object. And then I will add fields in the next line. So that would be something like codes dot number. So then to that field I'll assign some value. Then the, codes dot teacher. Then I'm assigning some value Dr. Dave. So this is the second way. And something you can also write and use a constructors here. So this is again a concept in Java also too. So you will just declare a functions and you have some arguments and you will write that this dot number is n. So keyword this is required and it is not optional. That this will specify that current function in this number. Okay, and then we have something called as like this, var codes is equal to new codes, and just you will just giving the values here. After creating functions, you will just specify the values here in this third option. So this is how you will create objects in 3 different ways. Next we have something called as array literals. So when you come to what arrays will do means you can have multiple values stored in the same place. Okay. So you don't declare the type of variables in JavaScript. This is the main thing. We all know that. Okay. So JavaScript has array literals. So written with brackets and commas. So brackets in the sense we will use something like this, braces. Okay. So this is my array. So example here it has given, like I am declaring a array of color name. So for that I am giving some values like red, yellow, green, values of colors. But is storing it in array using what? Using this brackets. So basically arrays indexing we have, and arrays usually start with 0. Okay. So if you put 2 commas in a row, so array will have an empty element in that location. So example, you can see the same example. Here I am just taking the second one. We'll just save it. Okay. So we will discuss about array now. Basically, what we have did is we have used a color option, and what we have did is like we have taken red, okay, yellow, green, suppose some orange, okay, and pink. So like this, I have directly given my values. So how many elements are there in my array? Usually you might think there are 5, but when array will start, it will store with 0 element. This is called a 0th element, and this is 1, 2, 3. Like that, you'll be having 3, 4, 5. You can see that it is having array is having 5 elements. Okay. Why? Because indexing starts with 0. Now one more thing, what I am trying to tell you is, whenever I am mentioning any elements as, I have 3 commas and then I have given some color like green, okay, pink, whatever. So I'm just closing. This is my array. Now you might wonder, there are only 3, so we will have 2 elements, but that is wrong thing. Why? Because this comma will also be considered as an empty element in array. So it will consider 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like that, it will have a 5 elements. So comma will also be considered as an empty element. So if you put 2 commas in a row, then array has empty element in that location. So again here you can see the color is having 5 elements. So comma at the end. If you put, I hope I'm connected. Yeah. Okay. If your single comma at the end is ignored, so suppose if I have a comma at the end like this after blue also, so that would be ignored usually. So still my array will have 5 elements. Okay. So next topic is, okay, we will have to create an array first, right? So before using anything, first we will have to create an array. Basically, it is used to store elements. I'll just have a note. Okay, just trying to show you pictorially. Oh, okay. Mention, it will start with 0, then 1, then 2, okay, 3, and 4. So like this, the elements will be stored in your array like A, B, C, D, E, or some colors here, and basically you will have some indexes like array count will start with 0. So this is how it will look, and whenever you don't specify any elements, so whenever you are not specifying element, it will store an empty value here. So this B won't be there here anymore, like that. Okay, so now I want to create an array. So what we will do, so we have seen one way here. So I'm just trying to create a colors array. So how we have tried is, directly we are giving here elements into it. So these are element values. You can say something like color is red, yellow, green. So you have to specify it in string. So I'll just keep a quotes here, and like this you will be declaring. So you will be having something called as var. Okay, color equal to, directly you will give your element names. So this will create an array, and as I mentioned how it looks. So in each and every element it will store the data. Okay. So instead of A, B, C, D, E here, it will store your red color, pink color, blue, green. So it will create it. So here we are not mentioning anywhere that it is having 5 elements. So, but what it will do is, how much value you are giving in this braces, it will create that many space to you, like that. Okay. So you can see here. So here it will create 2 elements like 0, 1, 2, like that. And now we have something called as new keyword. So as I told, for creating objects also we will use new. So I'll create an array object here by using new keyword. Okay, so what we will do is, first you will give var colors is equal to new array. So it will create an array object. This statement will create an array object, and then you will assign the array elements. Okay, so like this, like colors of 0 is red, color of 2 is blue, color of 1 is green. As such, you can add elements to the array later, but first you have to create a array object, that is using new array, new keyword. Okay, so next is what? You can use new array of n with a single numeric argument to create an array of that size. So instead of here itself, I don't want to assign fields later. Just what I want to do, I should know my array size is this much. So initially, I am telling that create me an array of 3 size. So what it will do, you will just specify in parenthesis this as 3. My size also I am mentioning it here. So it will create me an array of size 3. So var colors is equal to new array, and I am mentioning the size here itself. Right? Okay. So you can use a new array with 2 or more arguments to create an array containing those values. So instead of size also, you can directly give your elements in this array itself. While creating the array object itself, you can directly give your elements also. So these are the 4 ways wherein you can create your array. So if you want, we can try it out. It would be better if you do some examples with it. So we will see more when we are trying to do an example. So just we have to remember for now is we can create it in 4 ways. So one is directly this way, wherein we are giving some elements and it will take the size automatically. And 2 is your var, okay, colors is equal to array. Okay. So afterwards, I will just define the elements, like color of 0 is red or something. Okay. So it would be something like this. You can give because you can create any number of, like I want. Here itself, in fields itself, I am giving the values. I can make it like colors of 6 is equal to, also I can give here black. So I'm not nowhere specifying here. Based on my elements itself, it will create the array size. Next is, as I mentioned, you will directly var colors, okay, equal to new array. I'm just specifying my size here, that it should be 6 size. So in that way also I can create. And one more thing is directly I can give the elements here. So new array of directly elements, green, whatever. So you can give directly in these 4 ways. Okay. So now we will go further. So length of an array. So if my array, okay, so suppose my array name is itself as my array. Okay, don't get confused. This is my array name. Okay? And its length is given by my array dot length. So usually this is the property. So I know it. I told you earlier, right? So if we know the fields directly, we can check it. So I want to check the length of my array. So basically, I'll take my array name here. Here it says my array is my array name, and then I'm trying to check its length. So we will use the dot operator here. So array length can be changed by assignment beyond the current length. So as I told you, whatever array elements you are giving, you can change the length of the array also. So suppose example, I have taken my array here and it's my variable my array. So I am creating a new array of 5 size. But what I will do, so suppose this is the example. I have given here new color, color is equal to new array of 6. But I am trying to add element to my 10th element. Okay, like some blue color. So you might think it won't allow you to create 10th element. Why? Because you have defined your array size as 6. That is a wrong case. It will allow you still to create the 10th element also. See here. That is what we are trying to tell you. Where my array is equal to new array of 5. Initially here 5 is the array size. But to add an element at the 10th, okay, 10th size or 10th element, okay, but it will still allow you beyond your current length also. And one more thing is arrays are sparse. Sparse is nothing but it is only allocated for elements that has been assigned a value. So until and unless you are not assigning any value, it is not going to allocate your space. So for example, if I am taking my array of 50,000 is equal to 3, so that is perfectly okay, right? So why? Because it will allow you a space. So index, why? Because you know that index is created in memory. Always whenever you are storing an array element, there are certain index created. For search to search your element in memory, there is something called as index. Okay, let me see. So here we will have a concept called as index. So index is nothing but whenever I am storing an element in array, I need to search them. So for searching, we should have something called as, like if you see a book, okay, take an example of a book itself. Okay, so what we are having, a book, you will have a pages, right? In each page, you will have chapters, and when you see open your book, you will have in the initial only page you will find something called as indexes. So wherein every detail is written. Okay, like in which page, if you go to page 13, you will find Sherlock Holmes history. Okay, so like that history of Sherlock Holmes, whatever. And by seeing this index only, you will know at which page what chapter is there. So what this index is helping you in searching your content, right? So similarly, in array also, if you see this index, it is generally to retrieve your, to make your search faster, you can say directly. So by saying index only you can retrieve your, that only you are knowing which page I should go and where is my content, whatever I want. So I'll just refer my index. So like that only in array also we have a concept called index. So here what it is happening is usually it is creating some indexes so that you can go to that element and retrieve that element. So we are having some rule for that indexes in JavaScript. So that is, length of the indexes should be between 0 and 2 power 32 minus 1. So that is itself, but your can be anything. So based on that only it will allocate. So one more thing is, as in C and Java, there are no two-dimensional arrays in JavaScript, but you can create arrays of arrays. So we will see in detail when we work with arrays programming. Now we will talk about arrays and objects. So far we have discussed about objects, right? Object literal. So as such we are having arrays objects also. So arrays are objects And we are having, and take the same example here also, like a car, and this is my field and this is my value, my car Saturn and 17, and it is having Mazda some value. So if you take car of 7, okay, it is same as car dot 7. So here I am using a expression to retrieve the value, like car of 7. So it will take me to this property, like 7 is Mazda. Okay, this is car of 7, value will be Mazda. So if I take it as car dot 7 also, it is same. So we know the attribute here, we know the property. Instead, we are using an array to retrieve here, like that. So both are same. Now same here, if you see this car of my car, I know the property name here, I mean the field name, my car, so I am using car dot my car. But if I use like this also, in brackets, like this my car. So it depends on how the situation you are like that. So if you know the name of the property, you can use dot notation directly, like car dot my car. If I know the length, array is having length property, I will use directly array dot length. So if you don't know the name of the property, but you know have some like some notation, you have some idea, okay, and you know that it is in a variable, or you can compute it in notation. Like that, in braces you will use like plus car. So that is what you will be doing. But both are the same. Next is array functions. Okay, array functions. If my array is an array, so basically we are having certain functions, like now I am storing my element, okay, so we will perform some actions on those elements, right? So suppose I am just storing a string, okay, in my array, like for example, okay, like array, I want to store some strings, like okay, where is my car? Okay, so this is my string, suppose. So I want to check the length of my string. I want to change this. I want to delete some content. Okay, I don't want this where. How is my car? So I want to change here content. So I want to see the length. I want to do some functions. So basically for that we will have certain properties, certain functions. So if you say my array is a array, so don't get confused. I am just telling this is the array name, what we call it as my array. Now what are the functions? We will just see. So we are having sort function. Sort is nothing but it will sort the array alphabetically. Okay, so whatever the array you are giving, it will just alphabetically order, it will change. So like previous example, you see ABCD, already it is in alphabetical. Suppose it is not in alphabetical. So if you use the sort function, you can sort them. Okay, and similarly, we can sort them numerically also. And suppose I want to reverse the array elements. Like usually here I have stored it as A, B, C, D, E. Now I want to reverse those elements like E, D, C, B, A. So what I will do is, I will use the reverse function. And one more thing is like push. Push is nothing but basically my array element, already we have specified that it should have 4 elements. But now what I wanted to do in middle of my program is that I want to add certain elements. Okay, so that reason I have to extend my program, or what happens is like every time you will have to go here and every time you will have to increase your elements. So instead of that, what we have to do is, in the middle of the program, whenever you want to increase the size of your array or you want to add new elements to the array end, what you will do is you will simply use a push function. So you will use your array name, that is myArray.push function. So it will add any number of new elements to the end of array. So it will increase the array length. Now one more thing, if we want to remove the elements, so usually you will function. So push and pop. Push will insert, pop will delete the elements. So how it will delete? See, my array is something like this. Okay. So suppose this is my array, and basically here it will be creating like this 0, 1. Okay. So we are inserting, we have already inserted certain elements here. Suppose these are already 4 elements I have inserted. Now I want to insert the element here. Okay. Further, if I want to insert elements, what I have to do is I have to use the push function. So push functions will add elements to the end. So it will add at the end here. EF. So what if I want to remove elements? So whenever I am using a pop function, it will remove the elements from the end itself. So first F will be removed, then it will remove E, then again D will be removed, like that. If I use, it will come from the end. So inserting also, it is inserting at the end. So like that your array will be there. Okay. So this is what about push and pop, and we will see an example where we will, in a program, we will be using these functions. And okay, so usually what pop is, and it will decrease the array. And one more thing is like toString. So it will return a string containing the values of array elements. Usually whatever the string is there, whatever values are there, so toString will return those. And that's it. And it will separate them by commas. Next is what we have as for-in statement. Okay. For-in statement is nothing but you can loop through all the properties of the object. So basically we have discussed about objects, and we have seen about the properties. Okay. So let us see the example where we have talked about the properties. So this is how we have seen about the object literal, right? So here number is one property, teacher is one property, and we know the values of them, right? So instead of this, what we will do is now we are having a for-in statement. So what this for-in statement will do, apart from for loop, so for loop we are just initializing, we are iterating, we are checking the condition. So this is completely different. What it will do is, it will loop through all the properties. In previous example, we have given teacher as a property, number as a property. So we have defined one object as codes. So it will go through those properties. Okay, it will loop through those properties. See what it does. So you can loop through all the properties of an object with for, and it will have a syntax like this: variable in this object, and then we will have a set of syntax. So example you can see here, usually it is taking a for loop, and in that I am using a variable as, and then in that I am having a prop. What is prop here? I'm just taking it as a variable. Okay, my variable name is prop, and where it is in object, which object? Course object. So initially I have shown you how the course properties are there with teacher and number. So we are going to loop will loop inside the course properties. Okay, so my variable here is prop. So what I am trying to do here, now I'll just document.write and sure it is there, and I should get the value also. So the course of that property, that is nothing but I am taking my object name and the property name. So it will display output like this. So teacher is one of the property and its value is being displayed because of this array, that is course object array. Now next property is number. So it will iterate to number property and then it will display its value. So this is what is happening in this example. We are iterating through the properties of an object. So the properties are accessed in an undefined order. So it can access in no certain order. If you add or delete piece of the object within the loop, it is undefined whether the loop will visit those properties. Okay, so arrays are objects applied to an array. Foreign will visit the properties. So usually properties will array elements will start with 0. So basically it will iterate properties 0, 1, 2 and so on. Like that only it will iterate. Okay. And notice that course of teacher is equivalent to course.teacher. As I mentioned earlier, if you know the attribute name or property name directly, you can use course.teacher. When you want to iterate through the properties, you can also use the arrays thing. So like this, the equivalent. So you must use brackets if the property name is in a variable. So why? Because we are using a variable property. So inside a variable, so we are using it in a brackets. Next is here this is a basic example wherein we are displaying a for loop. We will try to understand a for loop and also we will use a array. So let me take this program directly. Just try to understand what I am trying to do here. Usually in this program what we have did is like we have assigned an array element of cars and we are giving some values. I'll explain it. Okay. Okay. So this is my program basically, and what we are trying to do is we have created a car array instead of what we have seen in previous example. Here we are using a car, and as you know, we'll be using a var keyword for creating, and here I am just not specifying any array size. Instead, I am creating an array object. So I'll be creating like var cars is equal to new array of. So basically, after that, I am assigning the elements to the field. Like cars of 0, I am giving some name, Camry, or cars of 1. You can give any name, any car name. Okay. Then what I am trying to do here is like I am taking a loop here. So initially x value is 0 and till x is less or equal to 4, it will iterate and again it should increment my x value every time. So and it should display me what? Cars.x. So what happens here? I am just writing document.write statement, and again I'm using a break. So it should go to the new line, break statement, break keyword, sorry, tag. So this is what your program is. So we will just save it. So this is for array. We are seeing both the things. One is where we are creating an array, and we have created an array using array object, like new keyword, and then we have assigned the elements to the array, and I have assigned how many elements here? 5. And then I'm using a loop here, for loop, and we are seeing how it will iterate through each element in array. Okay, and then I'll be displaying it on my screen using document.write. Okay, so we will just see one more. Okay. So this is how it has displayed me all the car names. Okay. So this next is the function. Okay. So function should be defined in the head section of an HTML page to ensure they are loaded first. So whenever when I say function, you should remember the first example. If you are perfect with that example, no one can beat you in JavaScript. But because what we have did is, like, we have created on-click event, and then we have written a function like where we have changed the content, right? So like that, my function. So you can see whenever we are writing a function, generally we will write it in the head section. So this is the best example one can use to try the concepts. Okay. So basically, okay. So function should be defined in the head section, and the syntax for defining a function would be something like function keyword followed by your name of the function, and you will have arguments specified in your parentheses. Okay, so you can have any arguments, use any arguments here, but you can have n number of arguments, and then followed by your statements. So function may contain or return value also, and basically it will return some statements also. So any variables declared within the function are local. So if I use any variables, if I would have using any variables within these functions, so it will be a local variable where x is equal to 10, suppose. So it will be specific to this function only. So we call it as a local variable. In Java also we have this concept like global and locals, like that. So the syntax for calling a function is just like you'll use a name and then whatever the arguments value you want to give. So you'll just directly write here like this. So you can see here in the example, when I wanted to call that function, I have just used my function. That function name I have used it. See, this is my function keyword followed by the name of the function. So when I want to retrieve, I'll just use the name of the function. So it doesn't have any arguments, so we haven't specified any arguments in this scenario. Okay. Now simple parameters are passed by value, and if we want to pass some objects, we will pass it by reference. So same like Java. So okay. So this is also one more function program which we can try out. Okay, so basically this is a calculate function, very basic program this is also. So what here we are trying to do is, like, we will create a function like calculate is the function name, and we have defined some local variable a function. Okay, so that is x is 5, y is 4, z is what? X into y. And where x val is equal to, so just instead of putting the whole statement in document.write, I am just writing here a variable. Then I will be giving what content I want to display on the screen. So x has the value, and then I have a local variable one more, like y value, that should display me content like y has the value. So when I am using a document.write, I will have some space, then I will be want output. My output should be like the x value is, it should display me x value. So it will be something like x val plus, and it should display me x value, so I'll just keep x, and then again y value, and then it should display me the y, and some multiplied x into y is x into y, it should display me the z value. So as such we will be writing, and in the same program I will be calling this function using the function name. You can try this program. Let us try. Okay, so this is what we have till now here. If you see, basically as I mentioned, in function we have defined some variables that are called as local variables, x, y and z. Z will perform the calculation, and x val should define some statements like x has the value. Basically I am using these x val and y val as variables to display some contents in my output screen. So okay. So so in what we are doing is this document.write, I just have a space, then I'll get x val means it should display me x has the value. Then it should give me some space, and then again it should display me the x value, that is 5. And again it should what this plus will do is it will join. So plus is nothing but it will join the strings, you can say. So it will concatenate the strings, to be frank. So merging the two strings and then displaying the output, what it will do. So we will use a plus symbol in our output. Usually it is a concatenate symbol. And so what plus will do is like value. So again it will give me something called as y has the value, and then some space. So for space I am just giving a double quotes with no value in it, and then I will be displaying the y value, which is 4. It should give me y value, y has the value as 4, and then we are concatenating it, and we are just needing something like x into y is equal, and again it should display me the result of z. So when it should happen, whenever I call the function calculate. So already we have written a program, I want to call this function. So where to call? I cannot call here itself. So if you want, you can, but I can write multiple script tags in a single program. So that is what I am doing here, and I am using another script tag in my body, and then I will call the function. This is what we are doing here. We are using another script tag in our body section. Let us save it. You can save it any name, .html. So this is how the result will be. X has the value 5, Y has the value 4. So including spaces it is taking, and X into Y is equal to 20. That is value after multiplying 5 and 4, you will get 20. So that is giving me the output. Okay. Next we have something called as regular expressions. So what is a regular expression? So regular expression is nothing but it is also an object, but it describes a pattern of characters and can be written in either of two ways. So this is also one of the object in JavaScript, and you can say like a regular expression will use to validate your expressions. Okay, and you usually regular you will use it in two ways. This is like within slashes, like RE is equal to slash AB plus C. So there is one of my expression. I am using it in slashes. I can also use a constructor here, like using a new keyword. I can use here regexp, and I can use it in as an argument in constructor. Okay. So regular expressions are almost the same as in Perl or Java. So some features will be missing in JavaScript here. So we will see how regular expression will work. So if we see here string.match of regular expression. So basically this is used to search the string for an occurrence of regular expression. So basically we will see this more when we will work on programs. Okay, so string match itself is telling that it will match the strings. Whatever the value you are passing, it will search, it will do some kind of search. Okay, so whenever if it doesn't matches, that nothing is found, it will return you null. And if regular expression has the G, that is global search or global match. So if it is set as true, obvious match will return an array of whatever the strings or substrings are matching. It will the elements as the parenthesized sub-expressions, and the index property is at position of the match substring. So usually this is nothing but it will check for the matching strings in your expressions, and then it will give you the output based on it. So we will try to understand this using an example. Better we will work on certain programs where we will be using the methods which will be used in juggler expression. So for now, we will just see a base hit. Okay. So basically this program will do what means it will ask the user to enter some name, and usually it will check whether these expressions, whatever the user is entering those characters, it will match or not. Means the alphabets either small a to z or a capital A to z, and it will test those expressions, and based on that expressions it will give me some alerts, like if it is invalid it will just say that it is not valid, and if it is valid, that is if a user is entering something in smaller caps letter, it will just give me a valid. So let us see how it works. Okay. Some others. So this is how. Suppose I am giving my name like SARU something. So when I click OK, it should give me it is a valid. Okay. And suppose now I am giving something number. Okay. So like 0, 1, 2, 3. I am clicking OK. So definitely it will prompt me that this is a invalid thing. So what regular expression you can do is like you can validate your content also. So like what string you are passing. So you get such kind of to throw it as I said, this process will not even if there is errors in your code. So don't expect to get any helpful error messages. So that's what I'm telling you. You have to write and test your programs a little bit at a time. Okay. So basically, you can see one more program like so date function. You can use it and you can try this program. Okay, I have it. Yeah, we are doing with this example is we are trying to retrieve the current date of today. So we are having something date object like date function which we can use directly in our document.write. So we can get the date and also we can get the raw date or we can get the month. Okay, so I have the code ready. So here just we are using a script tag and we are using a variable raw date, and in that I am calling the date function, and to get the month I am using a variable mon, 3 letters. It is the raw date and it will get me the substring of 4,3. That is whatever the output I get, it has to retrieve me the suppose after fourth element you are having the month. Okay, so it will give me the after that character having like March MAR and May MAY. So we are considering only 3 letters in a month. So that's what we are doing using a substring function and math object. So for now, just we'll see a gist of it. So this is how initially like the date is Saturday. So completely it is showing me, and when I want to display it a month, what I am doing is I am having the substring. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will come here and it will display me the 3 characters. That is substring. That is, it will display me the month of March. Like that. So we will use substring functions also. Okay. So this is one more example, and yeah, this is what we have did. Okay, more examples, like as I have mentioned, JavaScript we will be using for form validations, like client-side validations to check whether, for example, as I said, we have certain events, once the user will submit something, and then we have to check the form details. So necessarily we will do some form things also tomorrow, and we will see like select statements, what we have like button or submit value. So all those, and how to create a radio button. So we will work on forms tomorrow. And yeah, events. So when I say about JavaScript events, you should recollect that on-click event. So whenever we clicked on button, there was some action performed. So that is something like in JavaScript we call it events. So events are nothing but these are actions that are detected by JavaScript. So every element on a web page, there are certain events which can trigger some JavaScript functions. So often placed within the HTML tag. So we will use the tag attribute1, attribute2, and we will use some on event name, and then we will use some code, right? So we can use a ahref tag also, like on mouse over some function. Whenever I have this event occur, this function needs to be called like that. So this is what will happen. And the set of all events which may occur in the page element of DOM, not JavaScript. So we will discuss what, and browsers don't necessarily share the same set of events. So there are so many events in JavaScript. So let us see in detail what are what. So these are the common JavaScript events which we will be using. So I have mentioned here the events and when these events will occur, and what are the event handlers we will be using. So one is click. I hope you are very well aware. So whenever we click it, so we have an event called as on click function. Now next is change. Change is nothing but user changes value of text or text area or select some element. Then we are having, for those kind of changes event, we are having a function called as on change function. So we also have a focus. Focus means user gives form element. Okay. User gives form element input focus. Input focus. So we have on focus. Like whenever my focus is on that particular element, then only this event occurs, focus. And for that focus only, we are handling that event through on focus. Okay. Now next is blur. So user removes input focus from those form elements. So on blur is the event handler. Next is mouse over. So whenever I am using a mouse, okay, desktop. So whenever my mouse over angles, so at that time we will use a mouse over function, that is event handler. Next, mouse out. So whenever I am removing my mouse from that particular link, or it can be an anchor. Okay. Next is select. So user will select form elements input field. So whenever I want to select a value, I want to enter some value. So whenever I'm selecting it, we have a event handler called as onSelect function. So whenever this action is happened, some action needs to be performed like that. So event has occurred or not. And one more is submit. Submit is whenever we submit some form, that event. So for that you are having on submit. So these event handlers are quite user friendly to understand, right? There is something like user resizes the browser window. So we have on resize event handler. Like loading also. So whenever the web page is loading or in the navigator, so we have a on load. Similarly, an unload also. User will exit the page. So whenever you are exiting the page, there are also you can perform certain actions. So those events, for handling those events also, we are having event handlers. So you should be remembering these event handlers completely. And what happens when? That's it. So document object model. So what document object model is means? So whenever web page is loaded in web browser, or you can say whenever your document, that is HTML document or JavaScript document, your web page is loading into the web browser. So number of objects will be created. So suppose my program is, we'll take the example here itself. So we will consider in document object model everything as a object node. So it is a tree-like structure. Okay. So for this, whenever content is loading, so everything will be an object. So if you see here, now it will be like something like this. It will create automatically whenever you are looking. you will have a HTML object, then you have something, okay, head, okay, so in that you are having what? Title. Okay, so like this we will be having certain tree-like structures. Suppose if I am using title here, suppose I have something called as a form. Okay, so this a gist of here, what exactly what. So in form, what we will do is we will be having something called as submit button. Okay, submit button, text areas, and we can have anything, multiple things we'll be having. So text or submit option, or we will have a button itself. So everything, whatever you are giving in HTML document, so everything will be like in the form of a tree whenever it comes into your browser. Okay, so we will call it as a tree-like structure, which is called as a document object model. So everything will be considered as a node or an object node. Okay, you can say. So usually why this is like, we can retrieve those HTML elements. Okay, so see here. So when a document is loaded into, a number of objects are created. Most commonly used are window and document object, what we say. So in the initially we have seen the pop-up boxes like alert, confirm and prompt, right? So those are window things only, what we call as window objects. Okay, so you have open, function, close, alert, prompt and confirm, like that. So we are having document also. So document itself again a window object only. So for that you have to understand, like window.object, if you write, everything is a window. Why? Because basically what we are doing are programs in web pages. So that is nothing but it is ultimately a window, right? So when I am saying when I am saying here document, like window.document itself. Why? Because everything is in window, what we are doing. My program itself isn't running in web browser, which is a window itself. So both are same. So what document is like? Document contain arrays which store the components of your web pages. And you can access and call methods on the components using the arrays. So I can call the method. Okay, and I'll call the method. So what we did in the last class, if you remember, we have used a method like I told you, get element by ID. Right? If you see this in the last class, what we have used was, we have used it document dot get element by ID. So it is itself a method which is provided by document thing. Okay, so as such we are having multiple methods, like you can usually those are nothing but it will call your methods on the component. So hello, చెప్పండి. ఓకే ఓకే చేస్తాను. ఓకే షూర్ షూర్ ఇప్పుడే క్లోజ్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే, no problem. Okay, so we can discuss further about DOM and the properties of DOMs in the next class. So that's all for today. Thank you. So that's all for today. Thank you.